Welcome to this deep dive. We are tackling, I think, one of the most persistent and, well, deeply human mysteries today.
It really is a big one.
Why is it that some people seem to attract massive amounts of money and opportunity, almost effortlessly, while so many others toil relentlessly, only to struggle and just always be short of supply?
And that question is exactly what this deep dive is all about. We're trying to find a shortcut to being well-informed on a really radical, century-old perspective that claims to hold the key.
We're talking about Wallace D. Wattles.
Specifically, his principles regarding the secret law of effortless wealth.
Right, and that word effortless can be a little misleading, can it? We don't mean passive or doing nothing.
Not at all. It means operating from a state of alignment rather than a state of struggle. This isn't about, better budgeting or some new financial hack.
Yeah.
This is a complete metaphysical shift in how you approach the very idea of creation and supply. Wattles argued, and this is the core of it, that wealth is mental causation. It's rooted in specific thought patterns, not physical struggle.
That idea must have been absolutely revolutionary at the time he was writing.
Oh, completely. You have to remember, he published this in the early 20th century. America was deep in the industrial age, the Gilded Age.
Right, where wealth was all about the titans of industry, the Carnegies, the Rockefellers.
Exactly. And their fortunes were seen as being built on the back-breaking labor of millions of people. So for him to come out and say that wealth actually comes from within.
And that it's available to everyone?
Everyone who follows a certain way of thinking.
Yeah.
It was a powerful, direct challenge to everything people believed about money and work.
Okay, so let's unpack that.
Right.
Our mission today is to really explore the first 4 foundational secret laws that Wattles lays out.
Right.
We're going to confront this deeply ingrained idea that money has to come from sweat. We'll explore why that very struggle, that pushing, actually repels supply.
And then the crucial choice between creation and competition.
Yes. And finally, we'll get into the profound, precise power of having a definite vision. We're really aiming for those aha moments that take this beyond just tips and into, genuine insight.
And we absolutely have to start with his foundational claim. It sets the stage for everything else he stated. You do not get rich by doing certain things, but by doing things in a certain way.
And our job here is to define that certain way for you.
Let's start with the very substance of reality itself.
Okay, let's get right into this core tension. The myth of toil versus what he calls the reality of alignment.
It's a big one.
Because even today, you look around and our world still, almost religiously, worships sweat.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
We call it hustle culture now, the noble grind.
Exactly. We're taught from childhood that fortune lives in long hours, aching hands, all of that.
And Wattles was seeing the exact same thing 100 years ago. The factories were roaring, steam rising everywhere. It was like a burnt offering to the god of labor.
And the belief was that effort, just grinding, painful effort, was the highest virtue, the only path.
But Wattles saw a huge, glaring, logical flaw in all of it.
Which was?
Well, he just observed the world around him. He looked at the hardest workers, the people in the mines, the mills, putting in 16-hour days.
The ones doing the most grueling physical labor imaginable.
Right. And he noted that they were, almost without exception, the poorest people in society.
Which is a complete paradox if you believe effort equals wealth.
A total paradox. And that was his devastating conclusion for that whole industrial mindset. He basically said, look, if wealth came purely from physical effort,
then those people should have been the richest ones in the room.
the richest members of society.
Yeah.
And since they clearly were not, the source of wealth has to lie somewhere else.
And for him, that somewhere else was, what, alignment? Vibration?
Yes, the silent frequency of thought held with unwavering faith. That was the real source.
But that's where the challenge comes in, even for us today, right? We are so conditioned to believe in visible, measurable effort. Money is a physical thing you get for a certain number of physical hours. To say the true source is an invisible vibration, to a lot of people, that sounds like pure fantasy.
And that is precisely why he starts his entire explanation with the deep dive into metaphysics. To even begin to grasp his definition of the thinking substance, you have to, just for a moment, set aside all that materialist programming.
Okay, so what is this thinking substance?
He describes it as a living ocean of intelligence. It existed long before the first coin was ever minted, before banks, before anything. It fills every invisible space. It connects all things. He called it the formless stuff.
So is this similar to what some people might call the ether, or maybe what modern physics might call the quantum field?
It's functionally the same idea in his system. But he didn't treat it as a religious concept. For him, it was a fundamental, intelligent, and, most importantly, responsive reality.
Responsive how?
It's the primal essence from which everything is shaped. Every element, every ounce of gold, every tree, our bodies, entire world, it all comes from this one substance.
So, if this substance is the source, and it's intelligent, and it's everywhere, how does anything get created? How does the process actually start?
It starts with thought. And this leads to what is probably the most radical law of creation he proposed. He said, there is a thinking stuff from which all things are made.
Yeah.
And a thought in this substance produces the thing that is imaged by the thought.
Okay, let's break that down. It means the intelligent field that's all around you right now isn't just sitting there.
It's not inert at all. It's listening. It hears your thoughts, but more than that, it responds directly to your certainty.
Or your lack of certainty.
Oh, your lack of it, yes.
This is where it gets really interesting for me. Because if that's true, then this intelligent field is the true source of wealth.
Correct.
Not your job, not your boss, or the stock market, or how many hours you clock in.
All of those are just channels. They are not the source. And Wattles argued that humanity basically forgot this truth. We started worshiping matter, the visible output, instead of mastering the internal cause.
The cause being conscious thought.
Yes. We started chasing the effects, the money, the possessions, the status, and we completely ignored the mechanism that creates all those effects in the first place.
The realization then, for you listening, is pretty profound. It's that the gold mine isn't somewhere out there you have to go dig for.
It's within. You are literally surrounded by, swimming in, an infinite substance that is just waiting for your instruction. It's waiting to shape itself into your clear, definite idea of wealth.
Okay, so let's say you accept that. You stop believing the source is external, that you have to fight for it in a stingy world, and you realize it's an internal field. What's the actual process? What do these divine mechanics look like in practice?
It's a four-part mechanism. You need all four parts working together. First, you have to impress a clear mental image onto the substance.
It's a blueprint.
The precise blueprint of what you want. That's the seed. Second, you have to hold that image with unwavering faith.
And what does that mean practically?
It means you never ever allow what your five senses are telling you, the appearance of your current circumstances, to contradict the internal reality you're holding in your mind.
So that unwavering faith is like the energetic commitment to the blueprint.
It is. It's the electricity. Third is gratitude.
Which is more than just saying thank you.
Oh, much more. Gratitude keeps the connection open. It keeps the vibration high. It's an energetic acknowledgement that the source is already working on your behalf. You're grateful for it, as if it's already here.
Because in that mental realm, it is.
Exactly. And this is so crucial because it aligns your present moment energy with the future you desire. And then finally, the fourth part is action.
Action. So you don't just sit and visualize?
No, absolutely not. But it's action guided by faith, not frantic, desperate action. This action provides the physical channel for the invisible to flow into the visible world.
So the real labor isn't physical.
The true labor is not of the hands, but of consciousness. It's the work of maintaining that high, pure, grateful state of mind. And when you do that, work itself transforms. It goes from trying to make a living, which is a scarcity mindset,
to allowing life to make through you. It becomes an expression.
Exactly. And when you truly get that, you stop being a beggar, asking life for things. You become a respectful commander of it. You stop saying, I have to fight for money, and you start saying, I must think and act in harmony with wealth and allow it to flow to me.
That one shift in awareness is, well, it's everything. It's the foundation for all the laws that follow.
So that brings us to the first specific law Wattles defined. And it's a direct confrontation with that industrial age conditioning we talked about, which, let's be honest, still dictates how most of us think about our paychecks today.
Right. We have to dismantle this myth of external value.
What do you mean by that?
The myth that tells us value is out there. It lives in the market, in your boss's opinion, in the price of gold. And that you earn money from the outside in.
And there's a little voice in your head.
There is. It's whispering. If I stop fighting, if I stop struggling for this external value, I'm going to lose everything I have.
And Wattles just flips that completely on its head. He argues that the fight itself, the very belief that money must come through agonizing effort, is precisely what keeps you poor. It constricts the flow.
So the moment you abandon the mental necessity of toil,
You start to work in partnership with the universe. You're moving with the creative current. instead of swimming against it.
Let's spend a little time on the difference between labor and expression, because the words here are so important.
They are. Labor, in the way Wattles used it, is work done under the shadow of necessity. It's driven by fear, by obligation. It's that desperate feeling of trying to fill a void.
I have to do this or I won't be able to pay my bills.
That's the energy of it. Whereas expression is work done in response to an internal vision. It's inspiration.
Can you give an example?
Sure. Imagine a person digging a ditch because they're terrified of starvation. That's labor driven by scarcity. Now imagine a master stonemason shaping a beautiful stone wall. He's using his skill, he's feeling joy in the process, and he has this deep internal conviction that he's creating beauty and value. That's expression.
They're both physical acts, but the energy is completely different.
The magnetic field around them is day and night. The frequency of the laborer is lack. The frequency of the person working in expression is increase.
I love that magnetic field analogy.
Because that's really what it is. Work done in the awareness of abundance literally magnetizes more of it.
Right.
Every single act, when you perform it with faith and joy, transforms from exhausting toil into vibrant expression.
The aligned person then realizes, I don't earn money as a payment for my suffering.
Right. I summon it as the natural result of my aligned activity.
It's like that gardener analogy you hear about. A gardener doesn't force a plant to grow by yelling at it or pulling on its leaves.
It would be absurd. You'd kill the plant. The gardener aligns with the laws of life. They provide the right conditions, good soil, water, light, and then they trust the fundamental intelligence of life to do the rest.
And our role is the same.
Exactly the same. Our role is to hold the mental picture, the seed, so faithfully and with such clarity that external reality has no choice but to yield to it. The physical work we do is simply providing the conditions on the material plane.
This really shines a light on the friction that limits so many people. Labor alone, when it's disconnected from that faith and that vision, it just becomes friction.
It's a wheel spinning against the wall. You're making a lot of motion, generating a lot of heat and smoke, but you're not making any real creative progress.
And we see this everywhere in modern life. People are just busy, busy, busy. Answering emails at midnight, running from meeting to meeting.
But their financial lives aren't actually expanding. They're just trading their time for money, which is the very definition of a scarcity model.
So this brings us to the ultimate conclusion of this first law.
Yes. The wealthy person is not the one who works the hardest. It's the one who works with the laws of the universe instead of blindly fighting against them.
The universe doesn't pay you for toil. It doesn't reward exhaustion.
It rewards awareness. It rewards alignment. If you're operating from a frequency of fear or necessity, well, that's the signal the thinking substance receives, and it will obediently deliver more things to be fearful about, more necessity, no matter how many hours you put in.
So the lie of labor isn't that you shouldn't do any physical work.
No, not at all.
The lie is that the physical activity is the source of wealth, when really is just the stage where wealth appears, but only if the consciousness behind that work is one of faith, expansion, and alignment.
Not desperation. That is a subtle but absolutely life-changing shift to internalize.
All right, so if the first law defines the nature of our work, the second law is all about the energy behind that work. And this is a big one for our modern culture. It really is. We are swimming in a culture that glorifies exhaustion. We call it grind culture, and we praise burnout like it's proof of worthiness.
We wear our fatigue like a medal of honor. I only got 4 hours of sleep last night.
Right. And we do this completely unaware that the frequency of strain, of anxiety, of struggle is the precise energetic vibration that repels the very abundance we think we're working for.
Which creates what you could call the paradox of exhaustion.
Explain that. Why does effort, especially when it's filled with struggle, push away what we're trying to get?
Because, again, the thinking substance is entirely obedient. It doesn't judge. When your inner belief system is founded on the idea that you must struggle, when your dominant thought is, this is so hard, I have to fight for every penny.
You're sending out a very specific signal.
A very clear one. The instruction you're sending isn't send me money, it's send me a fight. It's send me resistance. And the universe mirrors that struggle back to you.
I think we can all feel the difference in our own lives. You think about a project you had to push through with sheer grinding willpower.
And it felt like walking through mud. Everything was a problem.
Exactly. Versus those other times when ideas just flowed. The right people showed up, doors opened, and things just clicked into place. Effortlessly.
Right. And most people confuse that frantic motion running in place with actual creation, which is about magnetizing things to you effortlessly.
So trying to force money, To grab it with that aggressive, fearful energy.
Is metaphysically the same as trying to grab a handful of water by clenching your fist as tight as you can.
The tighter you squeeze,
The less you hold. The energy is one of contraction. And contraction always signals lack to the universe, no matter what physical thing you're chasing.
Okay, let me play devil's advocate for a second.
Please.
What about the listener who is facing real, tangible problems? Massive debt, a terrible market, a business on the brink. They are struggling. Is Wattles telling them to just ignore all that and think happy thoughts? Isn't that a dangerous delusion?
That is such an important question because it highlights the difference between wishful thinking and actual creation. Wattles was not advocating for laziness or denial.
He was advocating for mastery of your internal response.
Exactly. The physical reality of your debt is the effect of a previous state of consciousness. By struggling against that effect, by constantly focusing on it with fear and anxiety,
You're just reinforcing the cause that created it in the first place. You're feeding the beast that's eating you.
you're feeding the beast. Your subconscious signals are everything here. The subconscious mind doesn't really analyze the external world. It just understands vibration.
So if your energy says, I must fight, the literal translation is, you must experience a fight.
Right. You must experience conflict and resistance. The shift, then, isn't to deny your current financial reality. It's to deny it power over your creative thought. You have to affirm, I already possess the wealth of the universe and potential. I am now simply allowing it to take form.
The struggle dissolves when you mentally release the need for struggle.
Precisely.
That sounds incredibly difficult to do when the anxiety is high. So what's Wattles' practical antidote? What's the formula for maintaining this state of flow?
It begins with relentless inner control. First, he says, you must think richly. You have to actively, forcefully refuse to entertain thoughts of money as being distant, difficult, or limited.
Every thought of hardship is like cutting the wire.
It is. You have to replace I must earn with the energetic directive. I must align. Then, that internal state has to show up in your actions. You must act calmly.
Right.
Your physical work has to be done with definite intention, not desperate anxiety. Your movements should be graceful, efficient, composed. Because, metaphysically speaking, the infinite never rushes.
Anxious, frantic action has less power.
Exponentially less power
Yeah.
than a single, calm, composed action done from a place of faith.
Right.
Then that has to be followed by the third step, rest in faith.
What does that mean?
After you've done all the aligned action you can in the physical world for the day, you must release the outcome. You have to let it go. Faith, in this context, is the act of energetic surrender.
It's proof that you trust the invisible mechanism to do its part.
Yes. Worry is interference. Worry is you telling the universe you don't trust it. Genuine rest, after you've done your part, is faith in action. And finally, the essential lubricant for the whole system.
Live in gratitude.
It is the most potent magnetizer of all. It keeps your vibration high. It keeps your connection open. As we said before, gratitude is your heart's acknowledgement that supply is already present, already accounted for.
Not something you still have to go get.
Right. If you can be truly grateful for wealth you haven't yet seen with your eyes, you are forcing your inner reality and your outer reality to merge in the present moment. That is the definition of alignment.
So the conclusion of this illusion of struggle is pretty clear. Effort done in fear just produces deep exhaustion.
While effort done in faith produces massive expansion. You were never meant to wrestle with life. You were meant to collaborate with the power that creates life.
Money is drawn to calm conviction, not to exhaustion.
That's it. When your work becomes an expression of faith instead of a reaction to fear, the entire magnetic field around you changes, and you start attracting the very things you were struggling for.
All right, now we move to what Wattles called the fork in human destiny. This is, in his view, the single greatest choice a person makes, and it determines their entire lifelong relationship with wealth.
It's the choice between the competitive mind and the creative mind.
Let's define those. The competitive mind sees life as a battlefield.
Yes, and it's rooted in a fundamental, and he would say erroneous, belief that the universe is stingy and cruel.
That there's a limited pie.
Exactly. Resources are finite, and therefore, for one person to gain, another person must lose. This philosophy dictates that you either have to take from others, or that other people's success automatically limits your own.
And Wattles saw this as a disease of the collective consciousness.
A disease of the race mind, yes. Because the core vibration it sends out is separation, fear, and lack.
And when the competitive mind operates, it's constantly signaling to the thinking substance, I believe in scarcity, I believe in limitation.
And because the universe is obedient, what does it do?
It makes scarcity the governing law of your experience.
Right. Every time you look at a competitor with envy or resent someone else's good fortune, you are unconsciously telling the universe, their wealth limits mine, and you thereby reinforce your own chains.
But the truth, if we go back to the nature of the thinking substance, is the complete opposite. It's the infinite nature of supply.
Yes, we get so trapped by the physical appearance of limited resources on the material plane.
But that's just a temporary manifestation.
The snapshot.
Yeah.
The substance itself is infinite. It can't be depleted. It can't be cornered. It's always creating, endlessly expanding, and generating new ideas and new forms from within itself.
So the competitive mind is fighting over fragments.
Bitterly fighting for a tiny slice of the existing pie, a limited market share. The creative mind, on the other hand, isn't interested in the existing pie.
It originates, it bakes a whole new one.
It invents and expands the entire field. Let's use a modern business example to make this really concrete.
Okay.
A competitive company will spend all its time, money, and energy fighting its rivals for a 1% gain in an existing market. It leads to price wars, legal battles, stress.
Whereas a creative company creates an entirely new category, a completely unique value proposition that didn't even exist before.
Exactly. They aren't taking business from anyone. They're creating new business. They're tapping into that infinite resource of new ideas. They expand the field for everyone.
That's the difference between fighting over crumbs and baking a whole new loaf of bread.
A perfect analogy. And when you can genuinely bless another person's abundance, you affirm their gain is proof that my own is possible, and your personal frequency rises to match that potential.
So competition acts as this massive energetic blockage.
It's a contraction, an energetic clenching that signals, I do not have enough, and it just restricts the flow from the substance. Wattles warned that people who live in competition cut themselves off from the creative source because they're too busy fighting over what already exists instead of engaging in the sacred act of creating something new.
So how do we make that shift? I mean, everything in our world seems to reward aggressive competition. How do you retrain your mind to enter that creative state?
It takes deep conscious intentionality. First, you have to see the infinite everywhere.
What does that look like?
Whenever you encounter an appearance of scarcity, you have to intellectually and emotionally replace it with the idea of endless expansion. Look at nature. Every leaf, every star, every blade of grass is proof that the source creates in wild excess.
Okay, second step.
Rejoice in another's success. This one is crucial, and it can be hard. It requires active mental work to dissolve jealousy. But by truly celebrating the prosperity you see in others, you align yourself with the very frequency that produced it in them.
Third, and maybe the most powerful, create instead of compete.
This is the game changer. Don't spend a single minute of your energy asking, how do I beat them? Instead, ask, what unique value can I build that no one has yet imagined?
The creative mind originates new ideas that serve life and multiply supply for everyone. It bypasses the need for competition entirely.
It does. And finally, the most beautiful directive he gave. Live in the consciousness of increase.
Meaning?
Speak, act, and think in ways that cause increase for everyone and everything you touch. Your goal should be to make your employees, your customers, your family, everyone you interact with, richer in every possible way.
Because the creative mind is never anxious. It trusts the power that works through it.
Right. When you operate as an extension of infinite supply, that infinite supply cannot fail to support you.
The two roads are so starkly different when you lay them out like that.
They are.
One road is loud, it's frantic, and ultimately it's hollow. That's competition. The other is quiet, it's luminous, and it's unstoppable. That's creation.
And the first road ends in exhaustion. The second ends in continuous, joyful expansion. To create is to agree with life. And when you agree with life, life agrees with you by delivering endless supply. So that brings us to the pinnacle of the creative process, the sacred act of imagining. This is where the metaphysical foundation we've been talking about actually meets physical action.
Right. Wattles established that everything that exists, everything, began as a picture in someone's mind.
The skyscraper before the first piece of steel was ordered, the symphony before a single note was written down.
The wealth before the first dollar appeared in the bank account. He saw imagination as a form of divine architecture.
That's a beautiful way to put it. And this principle is the absolute cornerstone of his entire system, a clear and definite mental image of what you want.
And it can't just be a vague desire.
No, it has to be a fixed, precise vision. That vision is the specific blueprint you are giving to the thinking substance. The universe, he said, doesn't respond to vague longing or wishful daydreams or scattered prayers.
It responds to precision.
To the definiteness of an image that is impressed upon it with emotional intensity.
And this explains what he calls the problem of indefinite minds. It's why most people never create sustainable wealth.
They drift. Their mental pictures flicker and fade with every external circumstance, with every passing mood.
One week they're fired up about financial freedom, and the next week they see a scary headline about the market and they're consumed with fear.
Right. Their inner movie is constantly changing. And the universe, which is fundamentally obedient, never knows what reality to project into their life. It's getting mixed signals.
So an indefinite mind just scatters its own creative power. It's like constantly changing the destination on your GPS.
You'll never get anywhere. Without a clear, consistent picture, the universe has nothing specific or stable to obey. And this is why people who are always focusing on their debt or their struggles, even while they're hoping for prosperity, only seem to manifest more debt and more struggle.
Because the thinking substance isn't making a personal judgment.
Not at all. It's operating based on law. If you constantly imagine lack, conflict, or delay, the substance just dutifully constructs situations that match those pictures. Your outer life is simply a slow-motion mirror of your dominant inner mental image.
Whether that image is conscious or subconscious.
Correct.
So that brings us back to that really practical challenge. How do we maintain that clarity when the world around us feels like chaos? How do you practice this level of mastery and genuinely see things as you want them to be and not as they are?
It requires the absolute highest form of mental discipline. Wattles insisted that only a sustained, definite emotional vision can overrule the momentum of your past experiences.
The past is driven by appearances. The future is driven by imagination.
That's the choice. You have to be willing to think, speak, and act as if your desired reality already exists, even when your five senses are screaming that it doesn't.
That seems like it would take an enormous amount of willpower.
It's less an effort of will and more an effort of focus. And the very first step in this practice of mastery is to withdraw from chaos.
What does that mean?
You have to intentionally carve out time every single day for silence. A time where the external circumstances, the news, the opinions of others cannot reach you. In that stillness, your imagination can become pure and undisturbed.
And once you're in that still point, that's when you form the picture.
That's when you do the work. You form a vivid picture. You describe the desired result in your mind until every detail feels completely real.
The environment of your new life.
The sensations of that abundance. And critically, the deep, constant feeling of gratitude for already having received it.
Because the emotion is what imprints the image.
The emotion is the fire that brands the image onto the substance. A vague wish has no power. An emotionally charged, definite vision is an absolute command.
And this has to be coupled with the right energy. You have to hold it with faith, not tension.
This is such a key distinction. Faith is relaxed conviction. It's a deep inner knowing. Tension and anxiety come from trying to force the outcome or constantly checking to see if the universe has delivered your package yet.
Doubt is the real enemy.
Doubt is the only vibration strong enough to interfere with this law. It actively erases what your faith has drawn. Wattles said you must refuse contradictory thoughts. You have to become a gatekeeper of your mind and actively dismiss any inner monologue that says, "This is impossible," or "I'm not worthy of this."
And finally, you have to build the bridge back to the physical world.
Yes, you must act in harmony. Your daily actions have to reflect the reality you've already accepted inwardly. If your mental vision is of a successful, organized, and prosperous entrepreneur, then your physical actions today must reflect success and organization.
You can't hold a vision of wealth while acting from a consciousness of poverty.
The universe meets you halfway. It responds to that aligned action with intuitive nudges, with synchronicities, with sudden opportunities that seem to come out of nowhere.
So, definiteness really is destiny. The universe isn't moved by your struggle or your education or your family background.
It is moved by your internal image, as long as that image is clear, consistent, and unwavering. When you choose a picture and refuse to let it go, reality has no choice but to crystallize around it.
His instruction was so simple, but so absolute. Think what you want. Do not think of what you do not want.
And when you think about it, the greatest achievements in all of human history were built by people who mastered this invisible tool of inner constancy. So we've really covered the foundational laws that govern the mechanics of abundance, at least according to Wallace D. Wattles.
We have. We've established the reality of the thinking substance, this idea that struggle isn't necessary.
The critical need to choose creation over competition.
And the absolute necessity of a definite vision as the blueprint for that creation.
Right.
So what does this entire framework mean for you, the person listening, as you move forward from here?
I think it means stepping out of that mental current where you're always saying, I must work to earn.
And stepping into a new current.
A current where you say, I work to express the infinite richness that is already within me. And that state of expression is effortless. Not because you stop working. That's not it at all.
No.
It's effortless because you're no longer operating from fear. You're operating from the powerful, non-resistant frequency of faith and certainty.
The shift is just monumental. You move from being a beggar of the universe, hoping for a few scraps,
To being an active, conscious participant in its ongoing creation. Wattles taught that money is only the shadow of something much greater.
What's that?
The radiance of divine life expressing itself through an awakened, focused consciousness. He believed the true currency of the universe is life itself, always moving and seeking to express more of itself through you as increase.
So if money is merely a shadow, just a trailing effect of a cause that originates purely in the mind, then the whole goal shifts.
Completely. You stop chasing the effects. You stop chasing the shadows.
And you start mastering the cause, which forces us to confront a final kind of provocative thought to leave you with.
If this law really holds true, and wealth is purely a matter of mental causation, an internal law of manifestation, does that mean that economic struggle on a global scale is fundamentally a collective failure of imagination and faith?
And not, as we've always been taught to believe, a failure of resources or physical opportunity.
That is the question to really sit with. To live in certainty is to stop reacting to the world's appearances and to begin the conscious act of directing them.
That was a deep dive into the foundational laws of alignment and effortless wealth as described by Wallace D. Wattles.
Just remember, the moment you truly understand the nature of the thinking substance and its obedience to your thought, you'll never again mistake strenuous effort for true power.
The universe pays for awareness. Thank you for joining us on this essential exploration of the invisible mechanics behind wealth. Until next time, stay curious and keep diving deep.
Okay, let's unpack this. We come back to continue the secret law of effortless wealth. So if you joined us for the first part of this deep dive, you'll know we really laid the groundwork for this. This truly radical concept from Wallace D. Wattles.
It really is radical, even today.
Oh, absolutely. The idea that getting wealthy is, at its core, a matter of mental causation, not, physical struggle.
It just turns the whole work ethic we've been taught completely on its head.
It really does. I mean, the world still worships the grind, right?
Yeah.
The necessity of sweat. But this source material, it argues that real lasting fortune isn't found in aching hands.
No, it's found in alignment, in doing things in a certain way.
That's the phrase. And that's the key distinction, isn't it? It's so important to repeat because it just fundamentally shifts your entire perspective on labor.
It does. Wattles' big assertion that you get rich not by doing certain things, but by doing things in a certain way, that challenged the entire philosophy of his time, the industrial age.
And last time we established the existence of this thinking substance.
Right. This intelligent, creative field that's all around us, just waiting.
Waiting to obey a conscious command, a definite thought.
Exactly. So today, we're really moving from that blueprint, from the thought itself.
To the actual construction, the superstructure of reality. We're getting into the mechanics, the bridge that turns that mental image into, well, physical gold.
Into opportunity, into fulfillment in your day-to-day life. That is precisely our mission for this deep dive.
We're looking at the whole trajectory of alignment.
We're moving from the invisible world of thought and belief to the visible world of deliberate action and unstoppable flow.
So we're diving into law number 5, faith.
Faith, which provides the energetic substance. Then law number 6, gratitude, which stabilizes the connection.
And after that, action, law 7, which expresses the certainty.
And finally, law number 8, the effortless stream, which is, the result of it all coming together.
We'll also wrap up by looking at the epilogue, which talks about the true currency.
We are exploring this concept of energetic surrender, how conviction itself can become this magnetic force.
And how consciousness, when you apply it with real precision, is believed to govern supply.
Making wealth less of a fight.
And more of a spontaneous, guaranteed unfolding.
So let's start with the energy that makes it all happen. Law number 5.
Okay, so section 1, law number 5, faith, the substance of things desired. When we talk about creation, we usually start with that definite mental picture.
Yeah.
But Wattles makes it so clear that a picture, no matter how detailed, it just isn't enough.
It's not. You need the energy. You need the density, I guess, that carries that picture forward.
And allows the formless to start to, what's the word?
Yeah.
Coagulate into form.
Yes, that's a good way to put it. So law number 5 states that faith is that crucial energy. It's what turns imagination into form.
And at this point right here, I think this is where most people who try this kind of conscious creation, it's where they stumble.
Oh, absolutely. They fail right here. They hit that in-between period. The lag, exactly. Think about it. You've got the image, the intention is clear, maybe you even have a business plan all sketched out.
But nothing's happening. Nothing tangible has shown up in the material world yet.
And that's when the mind just starts to waver, doubt creeps in, and then, boom, fear of disappointment just rushes in to fill that vacuum of proof.
So Wattles insisted that faith is what anchors you during that sacred pause.
It maintains the integrity of the vision.
And he defines faith in a very specific way. It's not blind belief, which is how we usually think of it, hoping for something unlikely.
No, he calls it spiritual eyesight.
Let's pause on that framing for a second. Eyesight. Why that word and not just belief?
Because eyesight implies a certainty of perception.
Yeah.
It's not a guess. You're not hoping. You are seeing something that is structurally real, even if it hasn't translated into matter yet.
Ah, I see.
The source material describes faith as the invisible material that provides the mass, or the energetic density. That's what's needed to pull form out of the formless.
So if your vision is the blueprint for the house,
Then faith is the concrete foundation. It's the electrical current powering the whole construction project. Without it, the blueprint just stays lines on a piece of paper.
it is the literally believed in substance of things desired. You have to feel that substance now.
Yes. Without that energy, even the clearest vision it drifts away like smoke. It dissipates under the pressure of your daily reality.
And Wattles meant this literally, didn't he? Where definite thought designs and imagination colors, faith provides the actual tangible energy for manifestation.
Which brings us to a really critical distinction the source material makes, the difference between faith and hope.
This is huge for anyone trying to apply these principles in a practical way.
It's everything. Hope waits. Hope says, someday, maybe if the conditions are right, if the market shifts, this will happen.
It's conditional. It's weak.
Completely. But faith.
No.
Faith knows. Faith whispers with this quiet certainty, it's already done.
That is a complete shift in attitude. It's moving from asking, from supplication, to just declaring.
Wattles observed that the world doesn't suffer from a lack of opportunity or talent. It suffers from a profound lack of conviction in these unseen forces that govern supply.
And that lack of conviction leads right into what the source calls the dual thought problem.
A very common form of self-sabotage. People will pray for abundance. They'll desire vast wealth.
While simultaneously expecting disappointment or visualizing failure.
They're thinking two opposite thoughts at the same time. A clear image of wealth, but this constant internal monologue of worry, of anxiety, of fear.
And if the universe, this intelligent thinking substance, is getting these mixed signals,
it hears both with equal intensity, and so it delivers neither. The source is very clear on this. To think faithlessly is to sever your connection with the source.
So if your dominant internal feeling, your vibration, is fear, if you're constantly checking your bank account and feeling that familiar sinking knot in your stomach,
your energy becomes tangled with doubt, and you just cannot attract the coherent, definite results that you want.
the thought pattern of fear is just stronger, isn't it?
It's structurally stronger because it carries a heavier emotional density. If emotion is the magnetic field, fear creates a chaotic, repelling field.
And the big challenge here is that we live in a culture that worships visible proof.
We do. We're trained from childhood to only believe what we can touch, see, or quantify.
But according to this philosophy, all of that, the touching, the seeing, the quantifying, it's all just an echo of belief.
Exactly. The unseen must be believed before it can be seen.
And I imagine that's the hardest part for any practical-minded person listening to this idea of energetic surrender.
The letting go of the how and the when.
The moment you give up trying to micromanage the whole manifestation schedule.
That's when the underlying universal law can actually start to work efficiently. It's like a seed. The seed doesn't beg the soil for proof that it's going to grow.
It just trusts the law of the harvest.
Faith is the atmosphere where the seed of your desire can germinate unseen. It's the highest act of trust.
So how do we make this operational? If faith is the real work, how do we do it? Wattles gave a simple but revolutionary formula for demonstrating faith in action. The first step is to speak the language of completion.
This means you have to abandon future tense language about what you want. It's not, I will have wealth.
Or, I hope this company succeeds.
No. It is, wealth now flows through me, increasing life for all concerned. The source material says words are creative sound, and faith is what gives those words the power to compel.
So you're creating a sound that confirms the vision is already underway in the spiritual realm.
Then second, you have to feel before you see. This is the emotional alchemy part of it.
You have to dedicate time every day to entering the emotional reality of fulfillment, feeling the joy, the relief, the stability of already having it.
Because, and the source is very emphatic about this, emotion is the magnetic field that attracts conditions. If the emotion you're feeling is tense or worried or anxious, even while you're repeating positive affirmations, the attraction gets distorted. It gets sabotaged.
Which leads right into the third step, and this is maybe the most difficult one for a beginner.
Detach from occurrences.
Do not let visible lack cancel out your invisible progress. If you look at your current situation, your empty inbox, your meager sales numbers, your bank account, and you panic.
You're allowing the appearance of the past to overrule your conviction for the future.
So it's about acknowledging the present reality without subscribing to it as your future reality.
Exactly. You have to maintain that internal conviction that the thinking substance is rearranging itself under the surface, long before the flower actually breaks through the ground.
That requires incredible mental discipline.
It's the true path of mastery. And Wattles' final point on this formula is to act as the channel, not the beggar.
Work, plan, give, and speak as someone who already lives in supply. Your action is just the expression of your inner certainty.
So any actions you take in desperation, they just scatter the results. They lack focus. They lack energy.
But actions taken in certainty multiply them.
Because they carry the focused power of the entire creative substance. It's like that classic analogy. You buy the ticket for the destination you want, even if you can't see the plane yet. You act as if the journey is already guaranteed.
It is exactly that, standing on unseen ground with the same confidence you have when you're standing on solid stone.
And when you can maintain that vibration for long enough, the outer world, which is just a reflection of your inner world, has no choice. It has to conform to the pattern of your faith.
Faith doesn't strain. It smiles before the manifestation because it knows creation is already underway.
It's the steady, powerful pulse of the divine moving through human intention.
So faith is the golden bridge
Yeah.
between the vision and the reality. But, that conviction is hard to hold on to when the world seems to be contradicting you every single day. How do you stabilize that inner certainty?
The source says the answer is in tuning your environment. And that brings us to law number 6.
Okay, section 2, law number 6, gratitude, the magnetic key.
Right, so if faith is the substance of things desired, that initial heavy energy you need for the pull, then gratitude is the essential dynamic key. It's what maintains your connection to the source of that supply.
Wattles called it the great harmonizer.
He did. The harmonizer between thought and form. It's like the spiritual lubricant for the whole process. When you are grateful, you instantly tune your inner instrument to the frequency of abundance.
And this goes way beyond just simple sentiment or, being polite, which is how we often think about gratitude.
Oh, much deeper. The source calls it energetic alignment. Gratitude is a vibration that's so high, so clear, that the universe just can't resist answering it. It's the ultimate harmony between the creator and the created.
You're proving that you believe the source is benevolent and plentiful.
And the counterintuitive concept here is maybe the most profound one in the whole series.
That gratitude is the cause of abundance, not the effect.
Exactly. Most people operate on the effect principle. They wait for the good thing to happen, and then they'll be thankful. Wattles just dismantles that completely.
He wrote, "The grateful mind is constantly fixed upon the best. Therefore, it tends to become the best."
It has to be initiated inwardly. It has to be a proactive state of being.
This is a huge shift in metaphysical physics. It means you don't attract abundance because you're grateful. You are grateful, and therefore, abundance has no other choice but to show up in your experience.
Your frequency demands it.
And this is where we run right into that everyday human habit of complaining, of focusing on lack.
And why it physically or metaphysically constricts the flow of supply no matter how hard you work.
Let's spend a minute on this physics of lack.
Okay.
Because for the listener who feels like they're doing everything right on paper but still struggling, this could be the core block.
It almost certainly is the core block. You cannot effectively receive while you are broadcasting a signal of lack.
So every word of resentment about your current boss,
Every sigh of dissatisfaction about your commute, every moment you spend thinking about how unfair your competition is, all of it sends a signal to the thinking substance.
and that signal is, I do not yet have enough, and I am struggling.
And the universe, which is perfectly obedient, just mirrors that belief back to you by sending more lack to match your conviction.
So if you're grinding away, working 100 hours a week, pouring all your energy into a project, but you're constantly complaining about the lack of resources, the cost of living, the unfair system.
That internal narrative of complaint acts like a massive dam in the river of supply. It's friction, the engine's running, but the wheels are just jammed in the mud.
Labor alone, disconnected from faith and gratitude, just becomes toil, wasted effort.
Precisely. And gratitude, even just gratitude for what is, instantly reverses that signal. It declares, there is abundance now, and I am in harmony with the source of infinite supply.
It expands the magnetic field around you.
To live in gratitude is to stand in the vibration of completion, even when things look otherwise. This is faith matured into peace.
What about the practical pitfalls like postponed gratitude? We're all guilty of saying, I'll be thankful when I land that client or when I have $10,000 in the bank.
By waiting for that external proof, we're sending a message of delay. We're sending a message of not yet.
And the universe, again, just obeys the dominant thought.
Wattles was so clear about this. Gratitude now is the bridge. It's the bridge between the unseen possibility and the seen reality. It literally creates the proof.
It proves your certainty to the universe.
And that accelerated certainty is what manifestation thrives on.
So let's get practical. Let's detail Wattles' method for making gratitude habitual, making it magnetically compelling. It starts with setting the energetic rhythm of your day.
Right. Affirmation at the edges of the day. It's the simplest practice, but it's often the most profound.
Begin and end your day with quiet things.
When you wake up, affirm your oneness with the source of infinite supply. Thank it for the life that's flowing through you right now. And at night, give thanks not just for what happened, the good things, but for what is unfolding unseen.
For the delays that might have protected you, for the lessons that advanced you.
It sets the energetic rhythm for everything in between.
Okay, step 2 is a real test of faith. Be grateful for possibility, not just for possession.
This is where you thank life for the vision that's still forming, for the concept that hasn't found funding yet, for the relationship that hasn't even begun.
That's a supreme act of faith.
It is. It's like thanking a tiny seed for the full-grown forest it's going to become. It takes real emotional maturity to be genuinely grateful for something you can only perceive with that spiritual eyesight.
And step 3 addresses the human tendency towards irritation and challenges.
Reframe resistance. When you feel that flash of irritation or a complaint or anxiety about a challenge, you have to pause. You have to instantly reframe it.
So instead of cursing the challenge, you transform it.
The source suggests internal phrases like, even this serves my expansion, or this challenge is just the material I need for the next step of my creation.
It's an alchemy of the mind.
It is. Gratitude transforms that resistance, that negative emotional charge, into raw creative power.
And finally, expressing increase. This is the outward, practical, visible side of law number 6.
You have to speak and act so that every person and situation you touch feels richer just for your presence.
You radiate increase, whether it's clarity or kindness, a good idea, or just peace.
And that radiation multiplies your own supply because you're acting as a perfect channel.
And the key takeaway here is that feeling is what imprints the field.
When gratitude becomes habitual, miracles become natural because you're no longer calling for wealth from a place of lack, you're living in the frequency of supply. The most magnetic people in history were thankful before the evidence showed up.
That Thanksgiving was the creation in motion.
So gratitude, then, is the invisible currency of heaven. It flows through the soul that is aware of its source. It changes you first, and only when your inner world shifts to that high frequency does the outer world begin the inevitable process of conforming.
All right, so that's gratitude. Now we move from the inner world to the outer world. Section 3. Law number 7. Acting in a certain way.
We've established the inner world needed for creation, a clear vision, a fixed purpose, faith as substance, and gratitude as that sustained connection.
Now we have to transition from that inner alignment to actual outward movement. Law number 7.
And that way of acting is very distinct from how the average person operates. The idea is to move like the infinite.
Calmly, precisely, and entirely without doubt.
The river never questions its path to the sea, does it? The sun doesn't doubt its own rising. The core principle here is that your action isn't taken to frantically make something happen.
It's just to express what already is happening through you, which you've accepted by faith.
And when you act from that consciousness, your deeds carry an immense power, what Wattles called creative force.
They ripple outward, and the world starts to organize itself around your conviction.
Because your actions are infused with meaning, not just motion.
I want to challenge this for a moment. Because in the real world, it's often the most frantic person, the one checking email at 3 a.m., rushing through meetings, who is seen as successful.
That's a perceived success, though. And it's often brittle, unsustainable. It's built on a foundation of anxiety. Most people act from confusion. They rush, they react, they're afraid they're going to miss their chance.
So they're trying to grab water with clenched fists, as the source says.
They mistake motion for progress.
And when action is mixed with that underlying fear, what's the mechanism of failure?
It's actually very simple. Fear of failure is a powerful form of negative expectation. And expectation eventually manifests.
So action mixed with worry or doubt is like trying to plant seeds while simultaneously trampling the soil.
That's a perfect way to put it. The energy of the work gets distorted. It lacks coherence. You labor endlessly, but you don't make any meaningful progress because your hands are moving, but your heart and your mind are hesitating.
Survival mode blocks the spiritual circulation needed for truly creative results.
So if someone works 100 hours a week out of fear that they won't pay the rent, that sheer effort is rendered barren of creative force.
Because the consciousness behind it is scarcity and desperation, not certainty.
Exactly. The action itself is neutral. The intent is everything. Wattles taught that the one who acts from faith never worries about the results.
Because they already know the outcome is guaranteed by the law.
Conscious action is irresistible because law doesn't respond to the quantity of motion, but to the quality of meaning. An action taken in certainty carries exponentially more power than years of toil without conviction.
Certainty, unwavering belief translated into movement, is the irresistible force.
It is.
Okay, let's detail the practice of divine order, how to actually move like the infinite. The first instruction is critical for breaking procrastination. Act where you are.
Yes, not where you wish you were. You have to use your present environment, your current resources, your current job, your current relationship status, whatever it is.
That's the exact material for expression.
Don't wait for perfect conditions, the perfect client, the perfect office. The infinite always begins right here, right now. Whatever is in front of you is the precise material through which your vision must express itself.
Second, act with calm efficiency. This is where your inner state becomes visible.
Move deliberately, as if success were already guaranteed. Because metaphysically it is. Composure carries so much more power than anxiety or rushing.
You become the calm at the center of the motion, a stable reference point for the universe.
Third, infuse every single action with faith. This takes conscious presence.
Your tone of voice, your posture, your quiet assurances in meetings, even your dedication to small tasks.
It must all broadcast quiet assurance. The field records that vibrational signature, the certainty, and it multiplies it in ways you can't even predict. When your movement is graceful, not frantic, the universe shifts with you, not against you.
The fourth point is deeply philosophical and often missed in all the motivational talk.
Do every act as a complete act. Wattles said, put the whole power of your mind and will into every act.
This means treating every small task, writing an email, cleaning your desk, making a difficult call, as sacred service.
It's an intensity of presence that bridges the invisible and the visible. You're not serving a mundane transaction. You are serving the infinite flow through that transaction. And that coherence ensures every action is fully charged with creative energy.
And finally, detach from the result.
Once the action is done, you have to release it completely. Worry is interference, rest is faith.
You've sent the signal, you've performed the act with certainty. Now you have to trust the system to deliver the result.
Worry just tries to drag the result back into the realm of doubt, sabotaging the whole process. When you move in this certain way, chaos just organizes around your conviction.
You become unstoppable, not because you're forceful or aggressive,
but because you are certain. You stop acting like a struggler reaching up, and you start acting like a creator unfolding outward. Failure can only exist where doubt remains in the consciousness that started the movement.
So we've covered the whole journey. From the mental blueprint to the fuel of faith and gratitude to the precise, non-frantic action. Now we arrive at the culmination. What happens when all these laws converge into perfect, sustained harmony?
This brings us to Section 4, Law number 8, the effortless stream of supply.
This is the realization of perfect alignment, isn't it?
It is, the state where you become the current. This is the reward for the sustained discipline of the first 7 laws. Effort just transforms into rhythm. Force flows as grace. Struggle evaporates.
This is the moment when wealth and opportunity start moving toward you as naturally as rivers seek the sea.
And this shift in perception is everything. Wealth stops being something you have to earn or fight for or extract from a rigged system.
It becomes something that moves through you, blessing everything it touches. The realization of the great circulation.
Most people fail to reach this state because they're still operating from a scarcity mindset, even if they've learned the initial laws.
They still believe they're separate from supply.
They imagine themselves as isolated entities, clinging to money, competing for scraps, worried about the economy. They're effectively damming the river of supply with their own anxiety and fear.
And then they call the resulting drought their reality.
But the universe, the thinking substance, has no droughts. It only has blockages of belief.
Which brings us to the circulation principle. Wealth as a river, not a reservoir. This is the core paradox of what Wattles calls the divine economy.
It is. Hoarding stops the flow.
The moment you hoard from fear, you clutch a resource, financial or energetic, worried there won't be more.
The current stagnates. And that blockage is entirely one of belief. The moment you give from faith, generously and confidently, the current accelerates.
The less you cling, the more you attract.
Because you're proving to the universe that you trust its infinite supply.
Let's talk about money itself in this context. The source describes it as energy, as the visible form of invisible movement.
And crucially, it's governed entirely by the emotion you attach to it. If money comes into your life and you immediately tighten up in fear of losing it, fear of spending it unwisely, that negative contracting emotion actually drives it away.
Or prevents more from coming in.
Gratitude invites it, fear repels it. Wattles defines a poor mind not as one that's empty of cash, but one that's full of worry, vibrating lack.
So the task isn't to frantically chase wealth, it's to stabilize your own vibration so that wealth can circulate freely through you.
You are the riverbed. Money is the water. The channel has to be open, clean of fear, and aligned in faith. That is the work of law number 8, maintenance of flow.
Let's talk about the specific practices for living in this effortless stream. First, treat money with reverence, but not attachment.
See it as energy, not matter. It's a tool for the increase of life, and it comes and goes according to your inner flow.
Second, keep circulation alive.
This is where generosity becomes a spiritual practice. You give freely, not calculating a loss, but participating fully in the universal rhythm. Every act of generosity expands your capacity to receive.
Because the universe sees you're a worthy channel for movement.
The moment you let money move from a place of faith, you prove your trust in the source.
Third, anchor every action in peace. We're revisiting Law 7 here, but in a sustained way.
The infinite never acts in panic or haste. You move always from calm assurance, and your energetic field broadcasts stability. It attracts resources that mirror your stillness and your competence.
Fourth, receive without guilt. This is surprisingly common, isn't it?
It is. Many people unconsciously repel abundance because they feel unworthy of it or ashamed of having more than others. But creation can't bless a vessel that refuses to open.
You have to open the vessel of your life with gratitude and joy to keep the current pure and flowing.
And finally, live as an instrument of increase. Let every person, every place, every project you touch expand and increase through your presence.
You are the conduit through which the universe multiplies itself.
To increase life for others, to offer clarity, solutions, betterment, is to ensure that life increases for you, inevitably and exponentially.
When you master these principles, money becomes the natural byproduct of your vibrational coherence with divine order.
You stop asking that anxious, scarcity-based question, how can I get?
And you start asking the confident, abundance-based question, how can I let more life flow through me?
That's the highest state. You realize that money isn't earned through painful effort. It's expressed through your being. You're not a laborer trying to force a result. You are a channel.
And through that channel flows the limitless abundance of the infinite.
Which brings us to our final section, the epilogue. The true currency.
We've reached the final revelation, the summation of all of this source material. After journeying through all 8 laws, the core philosophy really crystallizes into a simple, profound truth.
The summary of the whole system is just this. Humanity was never really chasing money. We were chasing meaning, fulfillment, increase.
We mistook the symbol money for the source, which is being and life itself.
Wattles' core philosophy rests on a moral foundation that goes way beyond materialism. He wrote that the purpose of life is the advancement and increase of life, for everything.
For yourself, for your community, for the planet.
This, the advancement of life. This is the true currency. Money is just one of the visible, quantifiable forms this awareness takes when it flows freely through a conscious mind.
When you stop serving money and you start serving the flow of life and increase.
Money automatically serves you.
Culturally, we built an economy of fear, didn't we? Obsessed with earning through struggle rather than expressing through certainty.
And Wattles sought to dismantle that illusion.
Yeah.
He argued that our endless competitive striving blinded us to the law of our own being, which is increase.
And the most profound instruction he offered here was a challenging one. He said, the very best thing you can do for the whole world is to make the most of yourself.
And that's not selfish individualism. It's a metaphysical requirement. It means letting more of the infinite flow through your mind, your hands, your heart.
When you make the most of yourself, increase in money, peace, purpose, impact, it just happens automatically.
Because you've maximized your capacity as a channel.
So money becomes a perfect mirror. It reflects your deep underlying belief about your own power and worth.
When you lived in the fear of lack, money fled because you weren't trusting the system. When you trusted life, acted in certainty, and lived in gratitude, money inevitably followed.
The ultimate lesson was just remembrance.
You were already connected to everything you sought to earn. You just had to align your consciousness to allow it to flow. You're not separate from the source of supply. You are its dynamic, living expression.
And to the degree that you live as that expression, abundance has no choice but to appear in physical form.
Because the law of attraction is absolute.
So let's review the 5 key principles that really encapsulate this whole system, distilled into a living practice for you, the listener.
First, think creatively, never competitively. See life as infinite. See yourself as a co-creator and consciously dissolve any energy of envy or comparison.
Second, hold faith as substance. Believe not in distant, improbable outcomes, but in the unseen presence that is already forming them. Speak, act, and crucially, rest from that certainty.
Third, give gratitude a voice. Thank everything, even the delay, even the lesson, even the current challenge. Because gratitude is what keeps you attuned to the frequency of abundance when appearances suggest otherwise.
Fourth, act in a certain way. Let your work be the quiet, efficient proof of your faith. Move without hurry, speak without doubt, and treat every act as a sacred transaction fully completed in the moment.
And fifth, circulate life. Wherever you go, leave increase. Give more energy, more clarity, more kindness, more beauty than you take. This is the divine economy, and your return as a channel for the infinite is guaranteed.
When you live like this, money doesn't feel separate from spirit or morality anymore.
It just becomes a neutral instrument, a way for the infinite to serve itself through your definite purpose.
The final state of being that Wattles describes is one of profound peace. When you honor the light consciousness, flow, the increase of life itself.
The shadow money, resources, material goods just follows you effortlessly.
Wealth is redefined. It's the consciousness that continually gives and receives more life.
And the greatest prosperity of all is just the peace of knowing. Knowing that everything that belongs to you is already yours and always has been, just waiting for your conscious alignment.
And so we conclude this deep dive into the metaphysics of creation.
We've journeyed from the stillness of a definite thought all the way to the dynamic expression of effortless flow, confirming that supply is inevitable when consciousness is perfectly aligned with the law of increase.
That was a tremendous deep dive into the source material's claims about consciousness and supply. We covered the spiritual eyesight of faith, the magnetic key of gratitude, the irresistible power of conscious action, and the realization of living in the effortless stream. And the source material, as we're analyzing it here, concludes with this final and perhaps less mystical thought. It says, I'm quoting here, "Thank you for watching. Please like, share, subscribe, follow up in the next video." A sign of the times, I suppose. It certainly is. And to you, the listener, thank you for joining us as we explored how, according to this radical philosophy, the universe bends around the mind that knows what it wants and acts in a certain way. Until the next deep dive, stay curious and keep aligning your consciousness to the highest good.